All right, good, we good. All right, so what I wanted to continue because of what we just did, kind of stay in the theme of what we were doing. As everybody knows, you can take that down. As everybody knows, July 29th, which technically July 28th sundown, begins what they call the Feast of Set on this path. Now, the reason why I wanted to do this immediate afterwards, because if you were going through this ritual tonight, worshiping an external deity, you did it all fucked up. That's the way I can describe it to you. So we're going to clarify that. If you really, I know it's the first time doing it, this is one of our order that we created, obviously. This is one of the central rites that anybody can participate in. It's a public and a private rite. Now, the private rite, which I'm gonna throw this out there, really technically is supposed to be a female on the altar with her breast out. So when somebody gets to that point, got the courage to do it, you let me know. I'm serious. That's in the private rite. I'm just saying, we gotta be mature adults. There's a private rite. This is the public. This is the public rite. But anyway, I want to get back to the concept of it. Okay. If you really paid attention to the words in the particular readings from the Book of the Dead, coming forth by day, whatever you want to call it, whatever gets you excited. The key part in there was all the references to Osiris were. Did you catch the part about? And I want to get everybody's opinion on this. I bring before you Osiris in chains. What I want to know, what does that mean to you? What does that mean? Anybody want to go down? What does that mean to you, Jason? Quick, you ain't got to get into a long.
Osiris in chains.
What did that?
What it meant to me was your inner self, bounded.
Okay. What about you, young man? That's what you got out of it? All right, we'll skip you. What'd you get?
Same thing, basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I'll skip you. I know you're kind of.
Yeah, she's like first time.
What'd you get? It can be brief. It can be one or two words. You ain't got to go into a long.
I was going to say that you can be Osiris. He rose up.
Okay.
It's more powerful than Osiris said.
All right, I like that one. Go ahead. Sacrifice. I'm getting good keywords. Go ahead. Okay.
Osiris story about capturing
Okay.
Osiris story with
Okay. And what about you, Kavin?
Just before slavery.
Form of slavery. All right. You all kind of hit it head on. You're close. I heard some similarities. What it represents in this rite, when you say, I bring Osiris before you in chains, it's a representation, because Osiris, the whole story, like the brother mentioned on the end, the whole story of Set fighting Osiris is a representation of you overcoming your lowest self. Get out of the religious shit that's been passed down to us for so many years. It's not an actual story. It's symbolic of the internal war that goes on inside of us every day. The battle that we fight every day. Set is not the bad person or the bad demon or the bad god that he was made out to be. Because remember, prior to the 22nd dynasty, he was one of the most highest venerated deities in ancient Egypt. He had the largest cult following. So that story represents you overcoming your weaker self, everything that's holding you back, your disappointments, your negativities, anything you can correlate to something that's a weakness. So when you say in the ritual, I bring before you Osiris bound in chains to Set, you are now saying, I am ready now to tap into the isolated consciousness. Okay? I hope everybody caught that, because all the references to Osiris in this ritual is in reference to what's going on with you on a daily basis. You made another statement in there where you said, when you admitted that you took control, but you said one thing at the end, if you paid attention. Test me. Remember saying that? Okay? So I want to make this clear. This is not a rite. We didn't worship anything. There was no bowing. There was no prostrating. There was none of that. And right before this ritual started, we were sitting in here, thunder and the lightning started kicking in. And as we know, Set is the god of storms and chaos. That's not a coincidence. And just stop. Okay? So I want to be crystal clear. Does anybody, and please don't sit here and say you have no questions, because I don't believe that. Does anybody have any questions about the black mass we just did? Anything? Go ahead.
I want to know why we did the cracker and the juice thing, because that reminded me of like the church.
Right.
Like,
Well, know this. Excellent question. I'm glad you bring it up. Actually, what can be done, it's actually a special cake. They call it a cake. You can actually use anything for it, because that is where, for an example, the Catholic and the Latin Rite got the concept of but here's where it came from. Transubstantiation. Does everybody know what that is?
Oh, that's a big word.
All right. Do you know what it is? The same thing, and that rite that you see per se in a Latin Catholic Mass was taken from our ancient rites. That's not theirs. Now, what they do, like for an example, we've talked about this briefly before in classes. What they basically do in a Catholic Mass, they say transubstantiation. They turn the bread and wine to represent what? The body and blood of Jesus.
Yeah.
The act of transubstantiation is a black magical practice. Okay? So anytime you're working a ritual, you're tapping into your subjective realm. We transform that to represent the strength, knowledge, and power of Set. That's what we did when we did the invocation of Set, when we consecrated that bread and wine. That's what that represented. If you were listening, I know when it's the first time, you're kind of just going along with it because it's new, but this is something we need to do. We should be doing this when there's not like a main ritual once a month. This should be something that we do once a month. The more you do it, then it just becomes second nature, but it takes on more of a significant meaning. Because those that know me, I don't like to teach or do anything just for people to be doing it. That's not how I operate. Now, I got to say this with all due fairness, don't take this the wrong way. I couldn't give a shit what you do with it or don't do with it. That's irrelevant to me, all right? Don't take that personal. It's not. Because my job or any of us' job is not to convert anybody. I'm not in the business of converting nobody, okay? We don't convert nobody. That doesn't work. It doesn't happen. The objective of this path and this information is for you to utilize it to transform, change yourself. And so it's up to you. So nobody's going to do it for you. So I want to make that clear. We're not trying to convert nobody. Does anybody have any other questions? That's a good question, though. All right, let me get Sonya and then I'll get you. Go ahead.
Oh, you did you did two circles. You did
Correct.
two passes.
One was clockwise, one was
One
counter. Okay.
counterclockwise.
As long as you caught that part. Now, did you have another? You just wanted to know? Okay. And then I got you. You can make your comment next. The reason why, pay attention when you're doing these rituals, because there's so much stuff happening that's affecting you subconsciously that you're not even aware of. You might just be going through it like nothing's happening. You might be going through it like there's a lot happening. You might be going through it where you get we call it the aftershocks, like an earthquake, where the aftershocks kick in 3-4 days, a week, or 2 weeks from now. A lot of people get that too. Pay attention to everything is done for a reason. There's nothing that's not done, and I'm glad you noticed that. There's a reason why we sat in a crescent. There's a reason because we're dealing with another deity, Tahuti, which deals with the baboon and the moon deity, right? Because remember, Set conquered Tahuti too. That's a whole other thing, dealing with knowledge and wisdom. We sat in the crescent to represent. That's why we were all sitting in the crescent, though you guys kind of butchered it a little bit. That's a whole other story. Pay attention. When you're studying this path, symbols, allegory, signs, all that is done for a particular reason. When you really pay attention and analyze it, it should leave a lasting impression on your subconscious mind. You might have a dream where you see yourself walking around the crescent, clockwise, counterclockwise, etc. So that's a good question. Pay attention.
I was just piggybacking. I was going to piggyback off what you were saying with the transubstantiation ritual, that the Roman Catholics actually took that from the Egyptian ritual. They call it what we call the Holy Eucharist.
Right.
And in the Holy Eucharist, I usually tell some Catholics, you don't even understand what the benefits of what is being done during that period of time, because it's basically as what the brother was saying, that where they take the wine and they have something they call it unleavened bread. That bread, the reason why they call it unleavened because it doesn't have any raisin yet, and they use that as the part of the representation of the body of Christ. But at the end of that, the priest is the one who really benefit a lot from doing that ritual, because the congregation, they just go along and don't really understand and don't know how to participate in that ritual to really get the full benefit of it. But it actually came out of that whole Egyptian.
Right, and that's true. And the difference, that's why when we do these rituals, everybody participates. And the reason why, another thing to go over, whether we do an initiation, like we ask the permission, things of that nature, when you're blindfolded and you go through the other rituals we do, etc. We go back there and we make clear you're doing this of your own free will and accord. And the reason why everything has to be on the same accord, because it destroys the energy of the ritual. So like that's why, for an example, I went back there today and I said, is everybody willing to 100% participate? Because some people, I'm not saying per se us, because you guys have been coming for a little bit now, but we had somebody here last month who was a little spooky. And, they think like, oh my God, what is it? They want to ask a million questions before you do it. Know when you come here, and I have no idea what the next ritual will be. It'll be something. I'll pull something out my sleeve. That's the whole objective. You're not going to know what it is. The whole objective is to participate and go through it and experience it. That's how you learn from it. You can't come trying to ask 50 pre-questions so you got it all figured out before you go do it. Then you might as well go ahead and become a Moor or whatever the hell you want to do to feel conscious and pro-black. That's not what this path is about. This path is about experiencing, and through that experience, you grow. Talking about with the yeah. Okay, there was a couple of sigils I made. I made pentagram, obviously. The pentagram was put over you guys. The pentagram of Set. I did the pentagram of Set. I did the chaos symbol. The wavy symbol I did on the bottom was representation of slaying a pep. That's what I did at the bottom, because remember, Set was the only deity, that wasn't Ra. And they even showed this in the movie Gods of Egypt. Go back and watch it. Even though the movie was Hollywood, they dropped some jewels in there. The only one, because Set turned to his father Ra and said, let me put it in my terms. He basically said, I ain't going to be no punk bitch like you and sit up here all day and keep this bullshit at bay. Because he had the wisdom to do it. He knew, but nobody wanted to grasp what he was getting at. And what I mean by that is, if you see in the movie, he goes around to each deity, he takes Tahuti or Thoth's brain. He goes to Horus, he takes his eye. What that was symbolically represented was, he was saying we all have those godlike qualities in us. I don't need to worship Ra. I don't need to worship Horus. So what happened was, when you see in the beginning where they make it look like a revolt, how that really went down when you read the text. Basically, when they went to the cult of Set, when the Osiris cult ruled Egypt after the 22nd dynasty, Set cult said, look, we're cool. You guys do your own thing, but we're good. Then they were demonized for wanting to take their own position. That's how it got demonized down the road, where now it made it look like anybody that was part of the cult of Set or acknowledged Set, he became the new devil character. You understand? All because they basically said, fuck you, we're doing our thing, but we respect what you're doing. But when it was forced upon them, that's when they revolted. Somebody said something over there?
No, I'm just saying that's the church Satan.
Right. Right.
They turned into Satan.
They turned Set into Satan, correct.
What has been, I'm a snake.
Okay. Because a snake means what? A snake actually is very crafty. It's very beguiling, it's cunning, it's wise, it's smart. Because a pep is also symbolic of a snake, right? You see a pep associated with a snake. So the reason why it says in that particular text or invocation, I am like a snake, because a snake goes into the bellows of the earth. It's constantly reappearing, and it sheds its skin, and it's constantly reborn. It's all symbolic because remember, they also had, on the Namuzas, they also had the cobra, the snake. So what it represented symbolically was the characteristics of a snake. It's not a bad thing, but some utilize that for obviously maybe not proper means. What were you gonna say?
I was reading the book Second of Pet. I've read the book before.
Yep.
There's an aspect of the book that talks about serpent. They represent your predatory of nature, and some people might call it your true self, your God self, but really it's your gut instincts. You know, your gut is never wrong. You don't say that. And that's like your true game. That's your true genius. Some people are too scared to trust it. You know what I mean? So it's like you gotta trust your gut, and that can get you through anything.
And remember, on this path too, there is a path. You heard of the Naga people or the Serpent people. There's a path or a magical path that we work that deals with real Kundalini rising. Because remember, the serpent fire or the serpentine fire. Now remember, here's the trick. I mentioned this before in classes as far back as 15, 20 years ago. Remember, when you hear the word serpent, that has nothing to do with a snake. It's got synonymous with a snake. It's a Greek word that again means cunning and beguiling and crafty. So they called a snake, they described it as a serpent. But here's the trick. When people hear the word serpent, it became so powerful, they see a snake. Serpent is not a snake though. Because that's how powerful words speak to the subconscious mind. To the point where somebody can stamp it and it says serpent and you start seeing a slithering snake. It has nothing to do with it. Serpent is an adjective describing what a snake is. It's two different things. So those are excellent questions, and I'm glad you caught the APEP reference. And I got this wicked picture that's going to be coming out on the next flyer. Awesome picture, where it's a huge like dragon-like snake, and Set is standing next to it, and it's like just got his finger on its head. Like I'm going to send it out. It'll be on my next flyer. And again, that represents Set. Children of Set do not have fear. Children of Set take the mentality where they are willing to tackle things head on. And all those symbolicism, that's why Set was laughing at Ra, like, so this is what you do, you spend your day up here doing this. And he was able to keep APEP at bay. He was the only one. Nobody talks about that. But just like they do in Christianity, Islam, and Judaism, they got you on the softer side of Egypt. Everybody wants to be a child of Osiris. And everybody wants to be like Aset or Isis, and I'm a god and I'm a goddess. All that is reformed religion. That's all it is. It's just a new religion sprinkled in chocolate. That's what I call it. It's dipped in chocolate. So we think it's okay, but at the root of it are the same concepts. There's a heavenly Father. There's a Savior figure. We need to be loyal, obedient servants and do as we're told, and there's some great reward we're going to get at the end. It's the same thing, but it's just called Egyptology. That's it. That's it.
In actuality, you kind of give away your power by doing that.
Of course. So if go ahead.
So,
Go ahead.
yeah, so the actual thing is actually in the doing is how you conceptualize what you are putting before you. Because if you put it before you on something that you're going to be subservient to, then now you become like a worshiper.
That's right.
You have to, you have to make the thing, you either make the thing work for you and you command that thing. Make me a command over that thing.
And it said that in the ritual. Yeah. I now command by way of what? Magic. Manipulation of the subconscious mind. You said that in the ritual. I'm going to make a copy of this ritual because what I want to do the next time we do it, I'm going to have a copy. Don't lose it because I'm not going to keep printing up copies. And then you'll have the copy to go along with it. You'll use it a few times and then you won't need it because you've done it several times. It'll just become second nature. So now the next time you do it, you'll have a copy of the ritual. You can follow along. You'll know where to, you'll know where to come in, et cetera, et cetera. And then what I really would like people to actually learn the ritual and get other people to perform it. Don't have to just be me. You know what I mean? We can get you need 3 people to do it.
It's suitable for children.
Yes, it's suitable for children as long as the parent has come to the conclusion they are at the level to absorb and put it into perspective. Yes, there is no age limit. It's based on the maturity of the child. Now, they say 4 years, 4 months, 4 days, a child can become conscious. But, no baby kids. And No pat, no hood.
Bring them in, they gonna undertake it.
No. Yeah, but you can't. Yeah, I mean, if you feel the child, male or female, is disciplined and you feel they can be behaved and absorb it, fine. But no, this is not a ritual you want to bring. Maybe a small child that's going to be a distraction. And definitely none of the initiations we do. We can't bring any children because that gets a little different, a little bit more intense.
You know, when I was going through my tribulation back then, all my dreams with snakes were like the snake attacking. But now, after I come out of that now, my dreams now with snakes are more like, they are showing you that they are like, they want to be in harmony with you. But sometimes in my dream, I tend to, like my conscious self in the dream is like more or less being protected or in case it attacks me. But most of the time, towards the end of the dream, the snake will just go away from me.
Right.
You know, so,
Let me say this. Remember, snakes. Remember, the venom can kill and the venom can heal. Okay? Always know that. Venom can kill and venom has healing powers. Snakes, scorpions, insects, all types of bugs, lizards, serpents, they all are synonymous with the deity set. And they all do represent protection. A few months back, I had to do a ritual, and I actually had to do it out in the wildlife preserve. And when you want to do a working in nature with set, it's best to go to a swampy type of area where there's a lot of wildlife, because that's where you really tap into the energy. When I did the ritual, and again, this is personal, and I'm not telling, I'm just going to be brief, I ain't going to get into all the detail, but just to give you an example, kind of what you talked about. The working I had to do was kind of tied into what you were talking about. And as I tapped in and was going through my invocation, I did it where I was facing the swamp, and there was a whole wooded area and trees and just swampy area, whatever. And I was looking straight ahead into it, and as I got locked in, I mean, I literally got locked in for about, I'm just guessing 10, 15 minutes. I can't really tell you how long. But I kept seeing, everywhere I looked, if I would look over there by the trees, I would see in my mind the image of Set. I would look there, and it just kept moving in a matter of a split second. I would see it just pop up everywhere because I was locked in after the invocation. And you could hear the bugs, crickets, I mean, all that shit. You could just feel like the smell in the air changed too. So what I'm saying is, all those things that you described, we're taught to be programmed to fear. Now again, I'm not saying if you see a snake, go up to it and hug it and kiss it. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is, we got to get out of these subconscious fears, and I'm glad you presented it. It is a feeling of protection. And as when Yehuda was asking the question earlier, if you look in various different dynasties of ancient Egypt, you will see they had the serpent or the cobra on the namuz. So it can't be that evil of a symbol. You know what I mean?
India also.
India too. Sure. You gonna say something?
No, I was saying India too.
Now I'm glad you bring up India, because remember, in its ancient name, it was the Dravidians. And remember, the Dravidians were African. So that's why Kali, when you look at Kali, which means, excuse me, the black mother goddess, it just means black. But the images you see of Kali today look Indo-African European. Because now she went from being dark black, beautiful dark black, to blue and white and all these other colors, because the Hindu culture originally belonged to the Dravidians that came from Africa. And Kali, for whatever reason, you go to Trinidad, the East Indians in Trinidad are a different breed, you know. And a lot of people from the Caribbean, believe it or not, especially in Trinidad, they have a large cult following for Kali. Somehow Kali stayed synonymous with melanated people, regardless. I'm not saying, yeah, some people mess with Ganesh and Brahma and all these other, and Shakti and all that shit. I get it. But why did a lot of us still gravitate towards Kali? Because Kali is very similar to Set. Kali's like the feminine version of Set. Very sexual, very powerful sexual energy. Teaches you you want to swim, like I mentioned to you before, here, throws you in the water. but is a path clearing deity. Now here's the thing, pay attention, because Kali carries a Pekibet knife. You heard the Pekibet knife mentioned in the Mass, which represents separation and isolation, which is symbolic of you see that knife he's carrying right there? That's the Pekibet knife. The reason why he carries that, remember, there's two things. The story says symbolically that he was yanked from Nut's womb, that Set was violently removed with the Pekibet knife from his mother's womb. That again is symbolic that he was an individual that represented not being a conformist, didn't want to go with the norm, wasn't going to be a follower, made that decision in the womb of his mother that he was going to be a leader. That's what you should be like, and that's what we should be breeding our children to be. Not conformists and followers, but doers and leaders. That's what the Pekibet represents. Kali carries the same knife. That's not a coincidence, because Kali represents the feminine aspect of that separation. She's the same way. I'm not nobody's bitch, basically is what she's saying. You want to learn from me, I'm going to give you that tough mother love. Not that sit on my knee, baby, and I'm going to rub your back and cuddle you and, everything's going to be okay. No, she gives you the hard lessons in life. And sometimes our children hate her for it. But they realize as they get older that everything that was being told to them was correct. So that's the feminine. There's not a coincidence. Pay attention, because when you see all these images and symbols and it's for a reason. It's not just, oh, that looks cool, but what does it mean? Okay? Anybody else have any questions on the Mac? I want to stay locked into Set.
What is the numbers represent?
Numbers as far as?
You said the numbers.
Oh, okay, 4, 7, and 9. Okay, they represent 3 different things. 9 is the number of Set. 9, the bell is always, when you invoke Set, you're always ringing the bell 9 times. Okay, always. So any tradition, it don't matter what path or tradition, anybody that quote unquote left-hand path tradition, you'll find when they're doing the invocation of Set, the bell is tolled always 9 times for Set. The 9 gates. It all represents when the bell is tolled 9 times, the 9 gates of consciousness are open for Set. I'm gonna get to the 4 and the 7. The candle, the central candle represents the black flame. That's the central candle, which represents the isolated consciousness. So when we toll the bell 9 times, we're tapping into the isolated consciousness. The 4 and the 7. 7 is just a number that represents completion. Okay, which a lot of cultures, it represents that. 7 means complete, perfect, finished, finality. Okay, now you're going to see 4. 4 comes up, especially when dealing with the sciences of ancient Egypt. The number 4 when dealing with gnomes and deities, because you usually had the deity and then there was a triad of 3 that was locked into the deity. So Set also had his own cult. So when you heard in that particular invocation of the Mass, I summoned to you in the numbers of 4, 7, and 9. It was basically unlocking those different aspects of what Set represents. Now, 4, particularly the number 4, even when you go into, per se, the cult of Osiris, it takes on a bunch of different meanings. 4 was a sacred number, period, in ancient Egypt, because you also had the 42 judges, okay? Which the Bible calls them the 24 elders, right? But it was called the 42 judges that sat before the throne of so-called Osiris to be judged, right? But when you break it down, you got the number 4 and 2, right? 2 is a multiple of 4. 2 times 2 is 4. You have 4 itself. They all break down into multiples of 4. So really it was the 42 judges. Now, Set was obsolete from that whole judgment thing, because remember, that's something that came in under the laws of Ma'at, which came after the fact. What I mean by after the fact, so people ain't confused, again, I've mentioned a million times before, you cannot understand Ma'at if you don't understand the 7 principles of Tahuti. So everybody's locked into Ma'at. Everybody's Hotep and peace and love, but nobody has got the 7 Hermetic principles, merged in there.
And we do a class on that, like
Yeah.
on the numbers and the occult, because I see them all the time. I want to know what that means.
Yeah. No, we definitely can. Yeah, we can do a numerology class. We haven't done that.
Yeah.
That's something we can do.
And how it relates to the
Yeah. We can do a number breakdown.
No. No?
Were you gonna say something? Oh. No, but yeah, we can definitely do that. Anybody else? You guys know everything, huh? Anything else? All right, so I'm going to go over a few things. If you got anything that comes up, feel free to go over it. Or feel free to raise your hand and interject. Interject, my brother. Again, I want to go back to what I was saying in the very beginning. The objective is I want people to understand, whatever you need, what they're doing, not to just be doing it. I want you to catch the grasp of the full meanings of what you're doing, because the reason why I'm stressing that hard, if you're just going through the motions, it's no different than, say, somebody that's been a Christian for 20 years and just goes to church every Sunday because it's the thing to do. Right. Exactly.
I was thinking about when you walk clockwise. It's like this thing is going about like it's like,
Yes.
you know what I'm saying?
Going around
Yeah.
clockwise, counterclockwise, because when I don't have the picture here, and I'm glad you bring it up.
I got it on my neck.
Let me see. Okay, snake in the mouth. But you'll also see in the chaos symbol, there's also another symbol. You see Set sitting on his throne. He's holding the staff with the chaos. I have it on my altar actually. He's holding the staff, and on the staff at the top is the chaos symbol with the serpent in the middle of it. And all of that represents chaos, because Set is the only one that can make order out of chaos, meaning your Set consciousness. So what you did tonight, we called upon the Prince of Darkness to activate the Set consciousness that resides within our minds. That's what that represents, because the Set aspect of your mind is the only thing that's going to get you through. I don't give a shit what it is what it is you study or think you know. And I'm telling you this from a person that went through every school of spirituality you can think of. I did the Moorish thing, the Islamic thing, the Nubian thing. I mean, you name it, I did it. And I just felt like there was more. I just kept saying, this is good, but this can't be it. And the difference between this path and those paths, when people ask me that might have saw me years ago when I was a Muslim or I was a Nubian, but what happened? Rather than say what happened and attack me, they should be asking why I left.
Exactly.
Not everybody left because they were bitter. Yeah, I mean, there was things that I didn't like that was going on, and I just evolved past it, but that's not why I left. I felt like it was limited, that's all. But we should be asking, not everybody leaves a group. I know brothers that were in the NOI for 35 years and they finally left. Not because they left, because why does everybody got to leave something and go to something else? Because they're bitter or they had a problem. Not everybody leaves because of that. They just leave, they outgrow it. And I stayed in a lot of those things, and I battled and I fought, and I was creating illusion within myself, trying to find reasons to stay, when my inner voice was giving me a million reasons to leave. So I said, fuck this, I'm out. I'm stunting my growth. And it's that simple. But the unique thing about this path is it's not defined by one particular system. It's constantly something new all the time. And that's what I was looking for. I didn't want to limit myself, because when somebody says they're Kemetic or an Egyptologist, you already know. When somebody says a Moor, you already know. When somebody says a Nubian, you already know. When somebody says I'm Nation of Islam, you already know. There's only so far that you know where that goes. And most of us have studied for years. We can probably sit and talk circles around those, and it's no disrespect, but it's fact. I know I'd be more than comfortable in a deep, intense conversation in any of them circles, because I've been through it. I've been there, done that, got the t-shirt. It doesn't interest me. And all I'm saying is stay in your lane and respect me, I respect you. But don't come up to me with no bullshit. Why'd you leave? You had a problem. I still got niggas coming up to me with that nonsense. And then when I start really talking about the organization and the doctrine, then it turns into something else. Yeah, exactly. These brothers, they walked with me in that shit. This brother right here. Let me get this brother. You ain't got no warrants, brother, right? Get you on. This brother here I met when I was a Nubian in 2006, out on the street. He just walked into the store. That's how me and this brother became friends. You understand? Just met him on the street. And he was in that whole thing with me. This brother traveled with me. I don't even want to tell you the shit we went through. This brother traveled with me to New York. I don't even want to tell you what happened. When we were here the first time, and when I went back, moved home, he came with me for a short period of time. I don't want to get into the specifics because there was a lot of shit going on at that time. And He was in that area. He was in that area. Same thing with this brother. I met this brother through that too, but we maintained a relationship. They too have just outgrown it. That's it. I know Yahuda for 20, a long time. Met you what, 1990? Yahuda, you still got the spot in the flea market. I met him in the flea market. Walking around selling books with a group of brothers. Met him in the flea market. Because back then, he'd tell you, that's what we did. We walked the streets. Back then, in them times, there wasn't none of this shit here. There wasn't none of this YouTube and social media. We grabbed what? You see a handful of books. We'd have a pouch, incense and oil. We go knocking on doors like Jehovah's Witnesses. Am I lying or not? I would go in. Now, mind you, look. First time I ever came down there in 1991, I used to go into the projects in Liberty City where dudes were sitting guarding the gates with Uzis and guns. The drug boys would let us in to buy books from us. We'd walk in, they knew us, the brothers in white. We'd come in, they'd buy books, incense. Now I bring that up because you don't know the intelligence level that's out there. That's what we did. We walked into the worst neighborhoods. We knocked on doors. We set up tables on the street. This is how we used to teach because there was none of this shit. And I just got up on this a couple of years ago. 2014, I started doing the video YouTube shit and Facebook and all that because people said, look, you need to get with the times. I'm more of a people person. I like doing this. This is, we lost this because everybody's now a computer scholar. They like to sit behind their keyboard and talk shit. I don't like to do that. I like to interact with people. I like to do this, perform rituals. Because the thing is, it's great we have all these classes, all this information on the internet, but where's the spirituality in these doctrines? There's no spirituality in any of these doctrines. Ashe, Alafia, Black Power, all that good shit. So yeah. So main thing before I move on, we got about 20 minutes, we'll wrap it up. The main thing I want people to really focus on, just know what you're doing and why you're doing it. Say it again. Know what you're doing and why you're doing it. And I bring up an individual that came, I'm not going to say her name, I bring up an individual that came to the last event and she was spooky and she was more curious than more trying to be a sincere seeker of the truth. And what's that old saying? Curiosity kills the cat. You understand? So you don't want to be curious on this path. Not curious to the point where that's what's driving you. So we're all curious to an extent. That's not what I'm saying. Be curious because you're intrigued by it. That's different. But when you're just completely operating on pure curiosity, you're going to get killed mentally. Trust me when I tell you. Because there's going to be some points in this that you come across you're not going to understand. It's going to confuse you. You know what I mean? Some people don't understand when we do, the drumming rituals and the spirits come down and there's possession and stuff. I don't like to use that word because it's religious. I like to use the word more when you embody the archetype. Like the Baron Samedi ritual was powerful. When that energy came through and the voodoo spirits came through, people would get, if you saw what happened to Lady Mystic, you remember that shit. Them drums started in 10 minutes, that spirit took her ass and threw her on the floor. And I don't know, I was like, wow, that threw me off, caught me off guard. But that's the power that we have. That's the power we have to start working with and tap into. Not all this weak-minded shit, this mortal shit. We're all looking for the solutions. We're looking to our political leaders, teachers. Everything is outside of us. And the more we keep looking outside of us, the more we're on an endless journey that we're never going to get the answers to. I keep telling people, the minute I separated myself from all that aforementioned bullshit, that's when shit started to change with me. What do I mean? The isolated consciousness of set means a multitude of things. Separating yourself from bullshit ass people. That's number one. Because most people are in a rut because of the people they keep around them. And they want to know, my life's so fucked up, things are going so bad. Well, step one, analyze your surroundings. What company do you keep? We all want to find, we want to have an explanation, but we never want to take credit or responsibility for anything. So it's about separating yourself from jacked up people. It's about changing behavior patterns that might be holding you back. Let me give you an example. If you don't know how to spend money, see, there's people that have money, but they just don't know how to spend money. You understand what I'm saying? Or there's people that have tons of money, but they spend it on useless shit. So, all right, if you ever hear the saying, don't live beyond your means? You ever hear that? People say don't live beyond your. Do you know there's people that have, I know some of these people, they have these huge houses, $1 million beautiful homes, beautiful car in the driveway. You go inside, there's no furniture. No, this is serious. Why? Because they all want to portray a certain status because it represents a symbol. Do you understand? We want to have that big house, that big car. That I just saw, where did I see it? It was on YouTube somewhere. I just saw somebody talking about it, and it was a good point. Do you know that black folks are the #1 buyers of BMWs and Mercedes? You know that, right? Yeah, there's a statistic. But you want to know why? Because it's the social status of the symbol, what it represents. Because they feel if they're driving a BMW, or I'm not saying if you have one, shit, I got one. I'm just saying. I'm not saying if you have one, that makes you a bad person. But what I'm saying is some people strive after these things, but they can't afford to maintain them. So that's part of tapping into set and the isolated consciousness. Devising a plan for yourself that's going to work and beneficial for you, and take your weaknesses and make them your strengths. Because what is a weakness can become a strength quick. Okay? This is what this represents. Now the black mass, or the invocation of set, helps focus you in and zone in and tune in on tapping into that consciousness, that energy. You can reflect on it, you can meditate, you can activate it by going through the particular ritual. And this can actually be performed by yourself too, you know. You can do this on your own with nobody.
I've done it twice already.
Have you? Okay, good. You can do this by yourself. You don't have to do it with a group of people, but it's done both ways. It's done individually and collectively. And know this is very important too, because remember, ritual collectively and individually serves two different purposes. Okay? And let me explain that. Your individual ritual work is where you're going to have your strongest growth because it's personal. Okay? It's very personal. A collective ritual, because there's so much different energy right now in the room with all of us here, when you have like minds in a like frame of mind with like energy, it can actually, it's like we can feed and charge off of each other's energy. But I'm going to tell you this. Here's the downside to that. I'm going to get you 1 second. I want to finish this. And I know, Yehuda, you can attest to this. Back in the day, we used to do a lot of chant circles. And we used to always tell people before they would come on a Thursday evening, make sure you take a spiritual bath and make sure you come in the right frame of mind. There were just, very few, maybe just a handful of times that I can recollect where you felt somebody came in a negative state of mind. And you felt that energy in the circle. So you have to be cautious of that. You never want to come to a group ritual in a negative frame of mind. If something bad happened to you, or don't come after you just had an argument with your husband or your wife or a family member, or don't come from immediately straight from work after you just had a terrible hard day, or you just got into an argument with somebody. Because what happens is you bring that energy here, and those that are spiritually linked in can feel that. And there was a couple of times back then when we did the chant circles on Thursday night, I would have to ask somebody to leave, literally. We'd have to say, no, man, you got to step out. Because as soon as they stepped in the circle and we locked up, you could feel that negativity. And it wasn't personal. We just have to ask them, say, look, you're not in the right frame of mind to do this tonight. So we're going to have to ask you to excuse yourself. So I want you to be conscious of that. Collective and individual spiritual work serves two different purposes. What were you going to say? Sorry. You had a thought. You were going to say something?
Yeah, it was a thought.
All right, if it comes back, just blurt it out. Just raise your hand real quick. What time we got? All right, we got about 10 more minutes. We'll wrap it up. Okay. Anybody else? Any
Why
questions?
Jackal? Why is he a Jackal? What is that symbolic for?
Say-
He's a Jackal, right?
No,
Oh, okay, sorry.
that's a new one. Nobody really knows, and that's the mystery.
Yeah.
Nobody really knows. Some liken set to the face of a boar, a jackal. They can't. It's never been officially defined.
Is that symbolic of like when you're? isolated. When you have an isolated consciousness, you don't know. You can't define what a person is.
There's no definition.
Gotcha. You can't
People
define
have given their theories on what Set represents because they look at it, it looks like a dog, but it's not. It hasn't officially been defined in any text. It also, you hear the bull you heard the term, the bull mentioned in there. So yeah, there's no, a Nubu is a jackal, like you said.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can see images depicted of them both where they can get intertwined and confused. So they do look similar, but no, Set is not defined as a jackal. Again, Set is the speculation and theory because of that. There's no definitive limitations to what it
That
represents.
means that when you tap into that class, somebody's trying to figure it out. They can't figure it out either. Figure who you are.
Can't. Because if I figure you out, I become God over you. You understand that? Because if I command a thing, I'm God over it. So that's what Set represents, everything opposite of that. Black robe? Okay. Black is worn in many black magical rituals for many different reasons. One, because of what the state of black represents. It's not so much a color, it's a state of existence. It's limitless, it's no boundaries, it can't be defined by anything. You'll also find out most of the temples where the rituals were done, and it's always suggested where you do your ritual working, if you do it in a room that has flat black walls, it kind of feels like infinite when it's set correct. Like there's no, not gloss, because glossy. Now, if you guys remember, we painted our temple black. Remember the last temple we had, and even though it wasn't huge, it might have been about the size of this room here. I would say pretty much the same size. But it felt like it was so big because everything was black. The walls, everything in there was black, red, and I mean, we had some times in there, man. You know, drumming and some Thursday night sessions we had
You
over
would
there.
chant with like 5 or 6 people and sound like 1,000 people in the room. Like,
Yeah, we had some good drumming sessions in there too. But yeah, black, and you'll see in all of the even when we did the ritual a couple of months ago, the Eternal Darkness and Chaos ritual, all the assassin and black magical orders, that's their color. They always wore black. Black robes, black implements. You'll find this in any of the sacred orders that the color was black. Now, you can even look at the Roman Catholic priesthood.
That's why I
Yeah, they all wear black when they're not wearing their robes. Now, why? I always ask people this, the same thing. Why do Christians wear black at a funeral? I never get a biblical answer. And I used to ask Reverend, I say, Rev, where in the Bible does it say to go to a funeral service and wear a black garment? Could never get an answer on that. Now, where it comes from is, he mentioned Anubis, the black jackal dog of the dead. Anubis represents that realm or the abode of the dead, which is actually the realm of the living. Death represents life, and life is death. You're dying every day. What you call life is death. Every day you're getting closer to death. We got to stop fooling ourselves that we're living life. And I'm not saying speed the process up and kill yourself. That's not what I'm saying. I am saying the whole purpose of this path is you're preparing yourself for that transition. So for when you get there, you have a quicker start. You ain't going to have to go through certain trials and tribulations. It's like a race. Picture this, when you die, it's a race, literally. There's points of origin. Some are going to start here. You're going to start here. Some are going to start up there. The quicker you get a jump start here is going to help that transition later. That's what this path is about. Stop fooling yourself thinking that what you're doing now is living. You're dying every day you get up. Every breath you take, you're closer to death. Every piece of food you put in your body, you're closer with death, knowing that eternal life is around the corner. And I'm not saying that for you to kill yourself, in case anybody watching on YouTube. I don't want to say I'm not promoting suicide. That's one of the gravest travesties you could do to yourself, is take your own life for no reason. And that's why in a lot of spiritual systems, suicide is looked at as something as a travesty. So I want to make that clear. It should never be against natural causes and reasoning. When it's your time, whatever that is. We don't know. But one thing we are certain of, that time will come. And one of your objectives on this path, and don't bullshit yourself. Most of us got into spirituality because We wanted to understand the mysteries of death. What happens to us when we die? Most of us got into a lot of those religious organizations because we were scared of death. We thought by getting in, that was going to protect us. Like, I'm part of some fucking group, and I'm going to go to heaven. I'm part of some rapture shit. You understand? Not in this. We understand the mysteries of life and death as children of Seth. Fuck that. We know what it is. It is, you're here to say it, but I don't think people know what it means. It is what it is. Right? What does the term do without doing mean? We hear this. What does it mean? You need to do without doing. Anybody got an explanation? Say it again.
Be self.
Be self. That's good. Anybody else? What does to do without doing mean? Does it mean just to sit back and be fucking lazy? No. It means by your example. By the way you carry yourself. Because if people don't, first of all, I mean, obviously, I'm past the point. I don't care what people think of this. Honestly, I passed that point years ago. You set it by your example. When people may not agree with what you do, but they look at you and they say, Sister Sophia, she's a good, she's a good wife. She takes care of her house. She raised her children good. She's an affluent person in the neighborhood. Her example. They may not like her spiritual practices, but they can't question her character and her personality. So your example sets the tone. That's why I said earlier, we don't convert nobody on this path. I'm not interested in that. Because your personality and character should draw people to want to come into this path. Because you know how many people, I'm not saying this because I'm special, me, him, and him. You know how many people just walk up to us, don't even know us, and just start talking to us? Not because we're special or we're any better than anybody in here, because they sense a certain energy about us. And they just start talking to us like, hey, what you got, blah, blah. And then that leads into that, and that leads into that. And then a year later, they become Jack. Like, he's sitting right there. You understand? I mean, they start studying the knowledge, they start practicing, and they become their own person. That's what this is. That's how you bring somebody in. You're not really bringing them in, but your example is what draws them. That's how it works.
I always see conversion as a violation of self. Because if you are to go to this length to bring somebody against the will, because most of the time it's like against people's will, to bring them into something that they're not so familiar with and try to force them into something is a violation.
That's right.
And to me, you're just setting yourself up for failure. That's why you have all the problem in the churches too, because that's what they do. They're going to save souls. You can't save souls.
Well, you know what happens?
Well, you could save souls.
I'm glad you bring it up. You know what happens? You get to a point in that ideology where it's limited, and you get to a fork in the road where you get conflicted with something you're dealing with. Let me give you an example. Myself, Brother Ravana Newman, who's not here, and probably you brothers too, I'm sure. How is it the human mind? There were literally times, and I'm gonna keep it 100 with you, where we would have a class, right? Spiritual, this and that, and then we would leave and go to a strip club. No, I'm serious. I'm trying to tell you, show you how the mind works. We were, I'm gonna give you an example. We were devoted, loyal, followed, the whole structure and rules. See, the average asshole or jackass would say, well, that's because you guys are evil and this and that. See, that's what the religious person would say. But what makes an individual, what makes you sit there and just 1 minute you're doing something spiritual, and then the next minute, immediately after you leave, you're going to a strip club? Does it make you a bad person? Right. But when you're in those spiritual systems, the guilt complex, see your guilt kicks in because you're taught that goes against the premises of what the spiritual group is about and what it represents. So we get to a fork in the road in a lot of these groups where we want to be disciplined and holy, but there's another part of our nature that we're not able to exercise and get out. Because I know many brothers that got skeletons in the closet. They want to pretend like they're this very disciplined, sexual, loyal being, and that like they don't desire more sexual energy. Females too. Let's keep it real. It's not just men. But our spiritual beliefs keep us confined. Like if we step outside of that, we're going to be ostracized for it. We're going to be, ridiculed. Because like you mentioned an example, be it the church, right? Here's the thing that I never understood. Why in the entire Bible every prophet was a pimp and had millions of wives. Solomon was the master pimp, right? And the only one who they say, and it's not really true when you read other texts, Jesus was the only character they claim didn't have multiple wives. But
That wasn't true. What about Mary?
now I know that, but I'm saying outside of the text that they don't accept.
Like a gas.
Right, but my question is this. How come God didn't look down upon Abraham and Moses and all these prophets who had 3, 4, 5, 6, 10, 15, 20, and 25
Well, that's
wives?
because they had to populate the earth.
Oh, yeah, okay. No. Solomon, when I read the stories of Solomon basically traveled and said, there's a fat booty, I like that, I'm going to take that. Like that, she's pretty, I like, yeah, you're going to come in. Solomon had concubines wherever he traveled. And don't give me it was just to repopulate the earth, because you can't find in one specific text where it's quoted where Solomon did this to populate the earth. No, Solomon in the eyes of God, from a religious perspective, was looked at one of the most wisest, noblest, intelligent men. But you want to know why? So here's the thing that they keep missing. When Solomon was asked, he could have anything he wanted. What did he say he wanted? The wisdom, and that's it.
Oh, women. I'm sorry.
Right? And see, people don't understand that saying. And look, I can get Bible on your ass all night if I had to. What does it say in Matthew? Seek ye what? First, the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all things will be added unto you. Where do you think that comes from? Because Solomon, at that moment, Solomon had the ability, could say, I want all the riches of the earth, all the booty and the ass. No, he didn't say that. He said, I want the wisdom. And once you want the wisdom and you seek the wisdom, everything else comes with it. That's why God didn't look at him as somebody that was, negative or evil or destructive. Because God couldn't have hated him, because he was getting it on with every female. Queen of Sheba, he had concubines in North Africa, all over the Holy Lands. I'm saying according to religious dogma. So we got to get out of it on this path. I'm bringing this up because do not feel guilty about who and what you are, no matter how bizarre it is. Like I said, I joke around. You might like to dip your toes in marshmallows and chocolate because it feels good. But you may be afraid to express that because other people might think you're weird. All right, now I'm saying there's a limit to shit now. All right? Don't be coming in doing some weird ass shit though. Get some, there's some shit you keep to yourself. All right, some it's only on a need to. But I'm saying, when we, I want to bring a statement up. When we had Val Cadman on the show, when he was talking, because he wrote some books on Ishtar magic and Lilith magic, and so there was a portion of the show we had briefly brought it up. And he made a statement when he talked about something he went through. You can go back and listen to it. Dealing with the shame of the naked body. Some of us still can't get beyond nakedness. And I mentioned the aspect of a female in this ritual, technically, that sits on the altar. Be it, you'll see it in the left-hand practice of the Satanic Church does it. OTO does it. It's a tradition that goes back way before that. Because the female is the key. That feminine energy, I keep telling y'all, it's not the masculine energy, it's the feminine energy. And there's a whole ritual with the female that's done on the altar. Okay? She is the key and the component. And who was the companion of Set that led the revolt against who led the 72 conspirators to slay Osiris? Who led that war? Who was the female companion? Who? Sekhmet. No, Sekhmet. Sekhmet carries the Pecky bed too. She was the one that first, when Set rocked, she basically said, let's go, let's do it. I'm ready, let's do it. That's what the female represents. Get out of this. Not every female is my queen and my goddess and let's eat avocados in the woods and no, that's not. We got to stop acting like all feminine energy is very delicate and light. That is bullshit. And I'm telling you this from experience because majority of the archetypes I work with are females. My most powerful energy that I work with is feminine, not the masculine energy is too pussy for me. I got to be honest with you. I tried some Tahuti shit a while back. It was gay. I'm sorry. I wouldn't vibrate with it. No offense, but it was just too docile for me. And as I'm saying it now, the right side of my temple, that's the way of that part.
But that energy is different.
Yes.
Is lot more powerful. It's like a kind of like make you sit down and they feel that.
Yeah.
Whereas the females are chaotic.
Well, yeah, but Cali, for an example, I'm saying Sekhmet. That energy is different. Asset or Isis is a more passive energy. It's a more nature type feminine goddess energy. Asset is likened to a lot of the deities like Dina and Diana. When you deal with Wiccan or white magic, it's very fluffy and light. Now again, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, because the difference with this path and other paths, you incorporate some of that with this, but the difference is it's combined. The problem is when you're working exclusively white magic, it's earth and nature magic only. That's it. It's dealing with a lot of aspects of earth and nature, which only serves a particular purpose. And that's why I say like Asset Isis is synchronized with a lot of earth feminine goddesses. But I'm just tired of this, like every feminine goddess is just peace and love and it's always about the motherly nature. I look at motherly nature different. I don't just look at a mother and a goddess as one individual that cradles somebody, and I look at it as like a female that just teaches you the hard lessons of life. And that's the archetypes I work with. They're not about like look, all right, you want to learn this shit? All right, come on, let's go. Here, bam, throw your ass in the middle. That's how I want to learn. And I get that from my mother, because let me tell you how my mother used to deal with me. She was no fucking joke. If I ever carried on, let me tell you, and I remember, and I'm going back, I'm about 5 years old, but I remember it like it was yesterday. You remember them little bags? You guys might be too young. You might remember this. I know you might, brother. You might. Remember the little bag of Army Men, the little plastic bag? They didn't do anything. They were just like, they had posed. They used to come in a bag. They used to sell them in the pharmacies in New York. Yeah. So I remember one time being in a pharmacy in New York with my mother, and I'll never forget this. I picked one up off the rack, and I said, I want to get this. My mother turned to me and said, remember what I told you in the car? We came in to get something. We're not getting anything. Put it back. That was it. I'm thinking I'm going to work my way. I think I'm going to slick my way through it. So I'm carrying it around with me. My mother didn't say anything. We get up towards the counter. She said, didn't I tell you to put that back? I'm not getting it for you. I said, I just want to get it. She said, I'm not getting it for you. I said, well, if you don't get it, I'm not leaving here. And I sat down on the floor. I'll never forget this. My mother didn't even think twice. Didn't even look at me. Paid for her shit. Walked out. Now mind you, the glass, the front of the store is like where that mirror is, the checkout counters are here. I'm sitting here so I can see a full view of the window. Man, my damn mother paid for her shit, walked out, and she walked across the mirror, didn't even glance. And I never forget that. Didn't even, as she was walking by the mirror, didn't even look to see where I was, sitting down, just kept walking. I got the fuck up so fast. Ran out, and I never ever did that again. Because I remembered that, stuck in my mind. Go ahead.
I just want to tell you a story about my mother.
No, go ahead. Let's hear it.
Okay.
Throw Sophie under the bus. Go ahead.
We're moving from one region of London to another. She was going to be in a house. I'd never been to this region before.
Right.
And it wasn't with a girl. It was about an hour's journey. And because I was dragging my feet, she left me at the train station for nearly an hour. And went off back. I didn't know the area, so I would just do is stand there until she came back.
And what was going through your mind?
Like,
What the hell's going on?
why would you do this to me? Yeah, so.
Teaching you a lesson, yeah? That's a different type of goddess motherly love. See?
So when I was showing, they used to be certain times.
Right. Oh, yeah.
I can be late, but you can't. So if it's 5 minutes past 6, I would go home, eat you and pick up with something.
Listen, you bring me, I gotta tell you one last story. I want to get into reminiscing, but we used to play a lot of like baseball on the street in New York, stickball, whatever. And I never forget this. As I got older, you get a little older, 11, 12, 13, you think you know something, you don't know shit. We used to, when the street light came on, that was the time we had to come in. Light popped on, that was time to come in, take a shower, eat dinner, whatever. So I was up to bat. Now I did this, I wasn't aware of what I did, kind of. It was my at bat. I wanted to come up because we had the winning run on second base, and I wanted to get the winning hit. My mother didn't give a fuck about that. The window opened up, I heard her yell, Michael, it's time to come in the house. So I said, hold on, Mom, wait a minute, I'm about to bat. I heard the window shut, that's all I heard. I go up there, bat, I I go ahead and celebrate. My mother comes. I see her walking down. She comes out with a beach chair. Never forget this. Opens the beach chair in the street, sits down, does like this to me. Now, mind you, all my friends are out in the street. Pull your pants down.
Oh, damn.
I'm looking at her like, what are you talking about? Pull your damn pants down.
Oh, God.
Pulled the belt out, put me right over her legs, sitting in the beach. Whooped my ass in front of all my friends. Again, as soon as that street light came on, I was in the motherfucking house. Never happened again. Never happened again. I'm just saying. So I'm sure we all got stories like that. Well, yes. But anyway, I don't want to wrap too late because we're gonna get some grub and I'm starving. Everybody else good? All right. Appreciate everybody coming. You'll get a notice for when we do the next ritual. All right. Peace.